Have you noticed a change in her behavior lately? Maybe she's suddenly being more distant or overly affectionate. Or maybe there's an increase in her attempts to make things right that feels out of the blue. Sometimes when someone feels guilty about something as significant as cheating, their actions can betray their inner conflict. The question is, have you noticed these subtle signs, or are you brushing them off as just another phase? We tend to think of guilt as something that can be hidden, but the truth is, emotions like guilt are often written all over our actions. In this video, we'll explore the behaviors that often indicate someone is struggling with guilt and remorse, especially in the context of a relationship. And while it's important to stay calm and rational, it's also important to recognize when these shifts in behavior aren't just coincidences. They might be signs that something deeper is at play. Before we dive into the signs, I want you to think for a second. Have you ever caught yourself acting differently in a relationship when you felt guilty? Maybe you tried to overcompensate, apologize constantly, or started doing things you didn't do before to make up for something. Let's take a closer look at these patterns and see how they might show up when someone has cheated, but is trying to mask their feelings. When someone feels guilty about cheating, one of the most common behaviors is overcompensation. This is when she goes out of her way to act perfect, trying to make up for her wrongdoing by being overly attentive, affectionate, or considerate. At first, this might seem like an effort to strengthen the relationship, but if it's sudden and out of character, it's likely a sign that she's trying to cover up the guilt she's carrying. Overcompensation often manifests as an increase in acts of service, doing more than usual to help you or make your life easier. This could mean she's cooking more often, cleaning up without being asked, or constantly checking in on you to make sure you're happy. While these actions in themselves are not necessarily negative, if they feel forced or come out of nowhere, it could be her way of trying to balance the emotional scales and prove she is still worthy of your trust. Another form of overcompensation is excessive affection. She might shower you with attention, compliments, and physical affection, even in ways that feel unnatural or excessive. You might notice that she's trying to hug or kiss you more than usual, or is constantly telling you how much she loves you. While affection is important in any relationship, sudden and exaggerated gestures can be a red flag, especially if they feel out of place or if they occur without the usual rhythm of your relationship. This behavior often stems from her feeling the need to buy back your trust. She might believe that by showing extra care or affection, she can make up for the emotional damage she's caused. However, these actions are typically a temporary fix and do not address the underlying issues. Genuine healing in a relationship comes through honesty, accountability, and open communication, not just compensating with actions. If you start noticing that she's trying too hard to show affection or help you, it's important to take a step back and ask why. Is this new behavior coming from a place of love, or is it a reaction to her guilt? Understanding the difference can help you decide how to address the underlying issues in the relationship. Have you noticed her acting differently lately? Maybe she's suddenly being overly affectionate or distant, or perhaps she's more attentive to your needs in ways she hasn't been before. These sudden shifts in behavior are not always coincidental, especially in the context of a relationship. When someone feels guilty, especially after something as serious as cheating, their actions often reveal their inner turmoil. One of the most common behaviors that might emerge is an unexpected surge in attention or affection. She might go out of her way to make you feel loved and appreciated, perhaps more than usual. It's as if she's trying to compensate for something she knows she has taken away. Trust. This is a classic sign of guilt, an attempt to balance out the emotional scales by offering more than what's normal for her. On the other hand, you may notice the opposite. She could suddenly become distant, avoiding eye contact or refusing to engage emotionally. This can be a result of her inner conflict and inability to face what she's done. The distance might be her way of protecting herself from facing your potential reaction. Or it could be her attempt to distance herself from her guilt, not knowing how to process it. Both extremes, overcompensating and distancing herself, can be signs of guilt. It's important to stay aware of the shifts in her behavior because often these changes are not as random as they seem. If she's acting in ways that feel out of the ordinary, it could be her way of managing the burden of what she knows she's done. So the next time you notice this sudden change in her behavior, take a moment to assess it. Are these shifts truly out of character for her, or do they feel like an overreaction to something deeper? Recognizing these signs can be the first step toward understanding what might be going on beneath the surface. Guilt has a unique way of manifesting itself, especially when someone is trying to conceal something as serious as cheating. At first, the signs might be subtle, but over time, they become more noticeable if you pay close attention to her behavior. A person who feels guilty is often conflicted, and their body language, tone, and actions can reveal this hidden struggle. One of the clearest signs is avoidance. She might avoid certain topics, particularly anything related to her actions or your relationship's trust. For example, she may change the subject quickly when the conversation touches on certain subjects, or avoid making eye contact when discussing sensitive matters. Avoidance is a classic sign of guilt. It's her way of protecting herself from facing the truth. Another subtle sign is defensiveness. When guilt is weighing heavily on someone, they tend to become defensive over small things. Even a harmless question or comment can trigger an exaggerated response. If you've asked a simple question like, "Where were you last night?" and she responds with anger or irrational defensiveness, that could be her attempt to cover up the discomfort caused by her guilt. This reaction often stems from her fear of being caught or confronted about the truth. Her behavior around honesty and transparency might also change. If she's suddenly being more secretive, especially about where she's been or who she's with, it could be a sign that she's trying to conceal the truth. Someone who's guilty often withholds details or becomes evasive, fearing that they'll slip up and reveal something they don't want you to know. This shift in openness is a clear indication that something is being hidden. So if you start noticing a shift in how she's handling conversations, her tone, or her transparency, it's important to stay alert. These subtle signs of guilt are often not as hidden as we think, but they require a sharp eye to notice. The key is to trust your instincts and observe how her actions have shifted from her normal behavior. Body language is a powerful tool that reveals a lot about what someone is feeling, even when they're trying to conceal it. When a person is guilty, especially in the context of cheating, their body often betrays them. If you've noticed her acting differently, you might want to pay attention to these subtle yet telling signs in her body language. These cues can help you determine whether she's hiding something or just feeling a little off. One of the most common signs that someone is hiding the truth is a shift in eye contact. When a person feels guilty, they tend to avoid direct eye contact. If you notice that she's looking away when speaking or avoiding eye contact when discussing certain topics, this could be a sign that she's hiding something. Conversely, she might overcompensate by maintaining intense eye contact as if trying to convince you of her sincerity. This shift is often unconscious and can reveal her internal discomfort. Another body language signal is fidgeting. If she starts playing with her hair, touching her face, or shifting her posture more frequently than usual, it's a sign that she's anxious or uneasy. These nervous movements are often subconscious responses to guilt. People who are hiding the truth tend to feel uncomfortable in their own skin, especially when they're being questioned or when the topic feels sensitive. Pay attention to her facial expressions as well. A guilty person may have a hard time controlling their emotions, leading to micro-expressions that reveal their inner turmoil. For example, she might smile a little too brightly or force a laugh to cover up the tension in her face. Alternatively, she could become visibly tense, with clenched jaw or furrowed brows, signs of her emotional stress. These small details can give away more than she intends. Lastly, be aware of her physical distance. When someone is hiding something, they often subconsciously try to create physical space between themselves and the person they're speaking to. She might step back, cross her arms, or angle her body away from you. These actions indicate that she's not fully open or vulnerable, perhaps because she's trying to keep her secret safe. So the next time you notice these signs, whether it's avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, forced smiles, or physical distancing, take a moment to reflect on whether they could be signs that she's hiding something deeper. Her body may be telling you more than her words ever will. When someone cheats and feels guilty, their attempt to act perfect can be one of the most obvious signs that something is amiss. Suddenly, she might be going above and beyond to make everything seem flawless, treating you better than ever, doing everything you like, and being overly attentive. At first glance, this might seem like a positive change, but it's often a cover-up for the guilt she's feeling. She's trying to present an image of perfection, hoping to distract you from the truth she's hiding. This behavior typically stems from a deep desire to compensate for her actions. When someone feels guilty for betraying your trust, they often go into overdrive to prove that they're still worthy of it. She might act like nothing's wrong, even though internally she knows that the foundation of your relationship has been shaken. Her desire to appear perfect may be a way to suppress her guilt and avoid facing the consequences of her actions. It's her way of telling herself, and you, that everything is okay, even when it's not. You might notice that her actions seem overly rehearsed, like she's trying too hard to be the ideal partner. She may suddenly remember all your favorite things, plan thoughtful gestures, or act in ways that seem out of character for her. While these actions in themselves might be appreciated, the key question is, why now? Is she doing it because she genuinely wants to improve the relationship? Or is it to cover up for something she's feeling guilty about? This perfect behavior is also a form of control. If she can keep things running smoothly and make you feel like everything is great, it gives her the illusion that she's still in control of the situation. She may want to keep you in the dark, hoping that the perfect outward appearance will shield you from the painful reality underneath. Unfortunately, this only works for so long. Eventually, the truth tends to come to light, and no amount of perfect behavior can replace the trust that's been broken. So if she's suddenly acting like the perfect partner, too perfect, take a moment to ask why. Is it a genuine attempt to improve, or is she hiding something deeper? This behavior could be a clear indication that there's more to the story than she's letting on. Recognizing the signs of guilt in someone you love can be incredibly painful, but it's also a necessary step toward understanding what's really happening in your relationship. When she starts acting perfect or becomes overly affectionate, it's easy to think that everything is fine. However, these behaviors can be signs of guilt, a way to cover up the underlying issue that needs to be addressed. Remember, true healing and trust come from honesty and open communication, not from overcompensation or perfect behavior. If you've noticed these signs in your relationship, take a moment to reflect on what's really going on beneath the surface. Are the changes in her behavior genuine, or is she masking something deeper? While it's essential to remain calm and approach the situation with a level head, it's equally important to trust your instincts and have a conversation about what's really happening. If this video made you think twice about your relationship dynamics, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you feel this message resonates with you, leave Stoic relationship advice in the comments to show your support and to continue this important conversation.